identified himself as John, and he said that he worked for a resilience company who were contracted by the government to call all local funeral directors. So his job was to ring round to every funeral director, and he was going to call me every Monday, he told me, and I was happy to help. You know, why would you not want to help? There's this terrible pandemic. People are falling over in the streets in China. So he would ask me several questions. He would ask me what my capacity was as a funeral director to be able to take deceased wise, you know, numbers. He would ask me who I picked up. He would ask me how many and where from and how many were COVID. So I would, you know, happily furnish him with those details. Why would you not want to help? But almost immediately, he was steering me, and by that, the conversation would go much like I would say to him, okay, I picked a guy up from a care home, and by this time, the doctors have stopped attending to protect the NHS, you know. There were no police attending, and the officers here will confirm that if you ask them, I'm sure. There were no doctors, no COVID tests, no police, but every one of them was COVID. Now, I spoke to the family, for example, this gentleman, and he'd been in the care home for 5 years. He'd had onset dementia. There was no COVID test, no doctor, no police officer present, but they insisted they had to put him down as a COVID death. And I would kind of say, well, why is that then? Because we both know he wasn't. Oh, we knew there was a case in there, so we've been instructed to report everyone as a COVID death. And that went on throughout 2020. And what I saw as a funeral director, there was no increase at all in the death rate in 2020. There was no increase at all, not a single one. In fact, it was very slightly busier in 2019 than 2020. But what we did see was every death they could possibly do was relabeled as a COVID death. So what you've then got is a pandemic death rate. This is the first time in 15 years I've not seen a single winter flu death. Not one. Where did winter flu go? It's gone, it evaporated. So, exactly that. So I also took a call from the BBC very early on, and they wanted to come and interview me. And again, this was very early on. I was happy to help, and they came and they sat down and they asked me to dress up in full PPE and put a mask on. And a mask is not something you usually wear as an undertaker. Now, I worked for the coroner for 7 years, and my job was body recovery. So that was hangings, RTOs, road traffic accidents, shootings, you know, anything you can imagine really. So we would sometimes wear a mask. I mean, you can imagine if you turn up to a house in August and there are Christmas parties up, you need a mask, because we would put bits inside that mask. It doesn't protect you against anything. It just takes away some of the smell when you're recovering that disease, you know. So during the course of 2020, it gradually unfolded that it was just total bullshit. There was no substance to it at all. The death rate wasn't up. I was waking up every morning expecting to fall over, and I got to kind of November, December, and I thought, I wonder if the death rate is suddenly going to soar in January when they start putting needles in arms. And local in Milton Keynes, they went advertised, they were going to give everyone these life-saving jabs on January the 6th. Yeah? So we had Christmas, it was quiet, and I had one person to look after Christmas Day. And I went round to see him that night and took him a Christmas dinner because he lost his missus Christmas. And he was on his own, you know. So that was quite upsetting. But I went back to work the first week of January, and they started putting needles in arms, and almost immediately the death rate went through the roof. I've never seen nothing like it. And to give you an idea, it was probably 300% what I'd expect it to normally be. You know, and they were all the people that were jabbed. It was all the most vulnerable that were protected, you know, and they hadn't been protected at all. They'd been euthanized. That's what had happened. You know, I was going down to the hospital and I was seeing nurses crying, and the mortuary staff were ringing me up, begging me to come and pick deceased up, you know. And that was immediately at the point that needles went into arms. And I can tell you, any funeral director with an ounce of integrity will look at their mortuary register and tell you the exact same thing. And that's what happened. And that went on for about 12 weeks, and then it went deathly quiet. You know, there was kind of like no death rate at all. And I think maybe that's the way of nature balancing itself out, isn't it? If they kind of euthanised all the ones that were most feeble, you know, they got round to the ones that were slightly fitter, and they obviously weren't passing away. So what we've seen now, to give you an idea, honestly been very public about what I felt, because I just feel that your family is as important as mine. You know, why would I know what I know and not say anything? You have to ask yourself, what have I got to gain? What have I got to gain? I've got nothing to gain, I've got everything to lose.